Good morning and welcome to the Eagle Football Press Conference. I'm Coach Clemans. The Eagles have come off of a big win last week against Kearney. We've got a tough one against Staley. I'd like to answer your questions now.
I'm going to go? Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Grace. My question is, how did it feel to beat Kearney for the first time this past Friday night?
Well, it obviously always feels good to win a football game regardless of who it is. There's a lot of things that we have to work on and get better at. I don't think we came close to playing our best football, but we created some breaks for ourselves and got the win. But hopefully it energizes our kids and helps them to see what hard work can do.
Okay, how big of a deal is it to have someone like Michael Weinstein be able to step in late in the game and pick the Eagles up?
Well, we've always known that Michael's ready to go, and we keep him ready to go. We've practiced him, given him just as many reps as the other quarterback, knowing that there might be a time that he'd get his opportunity. And he's a gamer. And, he came out and did a good job. Of course, he and everybody else on our team is going to have to get better this week, especially.
How are you preparing for the win this week?
Well, you can't reinvent the wheel from week to week, so we're going to try to just get better at the things that we do. We definitely struggled moving the football against Kearney. We've struggled all season moving the football on offense. We've had some problems with tackling, so we got to block better, we got to tackle better, and that's what we'll work on this week.
With 1:40 to go left in the first half, Kearney punted. Why did you call a timeout?
Because we wanted to, after Kearney punted or after we punted?
After Kearney punted.
Okay, I don't know why we called a timeout in that situation. Thanks for asking, though.
What effect do you think the student section has on the football players?
Well, that was a great night. I know even as coaches, we're aware of who's in the crowd and what the crowd is like. And, it was one of my most memorable nights as a coach, not so much just because we beat Kearney, but because of the response of the fans. It was huge. There's nothing better than having a couple of thousand people on your side and sharing in victory with them was a great time.
How will the opponent this week, being Staley, affect how the week goes, like practicing and stuff?
Well, we'll practice just like we always do. But, we understand, of course, that Staley, not really unlike Kearney, looks unbeatable on film. They're good. They're real good. And if you look at our schedule, and I've talked about it before, it's a unique situation where, the good teams that we're playing aren't just good teams. They're not just top 25 in the city teams. Okay, Kearney's a top 10 in the city team. We've got Blue Springs South, who's number 3 in the city right now. We've got Staley this week, who's number 2 in the city right now, and we've got Fort Osage down the road, who's number 1 in the city right now. So, when 4 out of your 9 opponents are probably the front runners for state championships in their divisions, that you've got your work cut out for you. We're proud to have gotten Kearney. They've got a great program and a great team, but we know that this week will be more difficult, and we've got some more difficult ones down the road as well.
So how has the big win against Kearney affected the attitude this week, and what's your outlook for the next game?
Well, I don't know, we kind of hit a funk here in the first few weeks of the season. We didn't have the same energy. We had a great summer, a lot of great football being played in practice, and went down and scrimmaged some quality football teams and had a great competitive atmosphere there. But we hit the season and we've gone into a little bit of a funk, and we're hoping that this big win over Kearney is going to energize the kids. We had a nice practice last night. But the number one thing that we're noticing in our kids right now is that our practice speed and our game speed aren't a whole lot different from each other. You know, we need to have more energy on game night and play a little bit faster. That's going to be a big key for us this week.
Is there any specific moment that makes you realize that all the frustration you go through is worth it?
That's a good question. I don't think that people understand the amount of hours that a football staff puts in to a season. I think there's a perception out there that we practice after school and we go home. That's not the way it is. I would estimate that as a football coach, we're probably averaging 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, preparing for football. And then in those other waking hours, while we're pretending like we're having conversation with our wives, we're really thinking about something football related. All right, and so the losses, because you only play one game a week, it's not like you can get right back on the horse. You only have 9 chances out there in the regular season. The losses are so much more painful and so much more miserable than the wins are relieving. Okay, so it's a negative sum game. There's more pain involved in it than there is joy. But the one time every 2 or 3 years that you get a night like last week reminds you why you go through all the pain and all the work. So and the biggest part of that really was a student section that was just as excited as our kids were.
What 1 or 2 things do you currently do in your training that are keys to your success?
Well, you know what, we have set schemes. I read a Tony Dungy book a long time ago, and he said people would always ask him, what's your game plan this week? And then his answer was always, we do what we do. So we're going to do what we do regardless of what the opponent does, and we try to stick to that in our scheme, and it keeps things the same for our kids. We kind of have the understanding that if you've worked on something for weeks and weeks and weeks, you're going to be better at that than anything new that you might be able to put in 1 week's time. So I think a consistent scheme on offense and defense that stays the same with a little tweak here and there has been a secret to our success over the years. Thanks for coming. Please come to Staley on Thursday night and bring us some energy.